Short-term pleasure, long-term pain, How to Reverse the Cycle, written by Ronnie Rowland, published by Growth Literacy Lounge. We must all suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. Jim Rohn. There's a moment in everyone's life when they realize they've been playing the wrong game. Maybe it's waking up exhausted because you stayed up too late scrolling on your phone. Maybe it's looking at your bank account and wondering where all your money went. Maybe it's stepping on the scale and realizing that years of small choices have added up to something you never intended. We live in a world built for instant gratification. Everything is designed to be fast, easy, and convenient. One tap delivers food to your doorstep. One swipe brings entertainment. One click gives you a quick dopamine hit. But here's the problem. What feels good now often makes life harder later. You nailed it. It's so easy to fall into the comfort trap, because it feels like the right choice in the moment. But the real game changer is realizing that later is a lie. Waiting doesn't make things easier, it just makes them harder. The good news? We can break the cycle. Every small decision to choose growth over comfort builds momentum. Even tiny wins, pausing before a bad habit, taking one small action instead of procrastinating, or making one better choice today, can shift everything over time. It's never too late to turn things around. What's one habit you're ready to change? Let's take that first step together. The good news? The cycle can be reversed. What if you could train your brain to crave the rewards of discipline instead of the fleeting pleasure of indulgence? What if the things that once felt like sacrifices, exercise, focus, financial responsibility, became the very things that gave you the deepest satisfaction? This book is not about eliminating pleasure. It's about learning to choose the right kind of pleasure, the kind that compounds into success rather than regret. It's about shifting from a life controlled by impulses to a life designed by intention. You don't need superhuman willpower. You just need to see the pattern and make a new choice. If you've ever felt frustrated with yourself for repeating the same bad habits, this book will show you why. More importantly, it will show you how to break free, because in the end, Jim Rohn was right. You will suffer one of two things, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The choice is yours. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Why we chase quick hits of pleasure. Why is it so easy to do what's bad for us and so hard to do what's good? We know we should eat healthy, save money, exercise, and focus on important work, yet we keep reaching for junk food, impulsively spending, skipping workouts, and procrastinating. It's not because we're lazy or undisciplined. It's because our brains are wired to chase instant gratification. Every time you scroll through social media, binge watch a show, or indulge in a sugary snack, your brain rewards you with a small dopamine hit, the chemical that makes you feel good. It's designed to reinforce behavior that keeps us alive, but in today's world, it often works against us. We aren't chasing long-term happiness. We're chasing the next hit, the next easy source of pleasure, even when we know it's harming us in the long run. Think about the last time you told yourself, just 5 more minutes on your phone, only to realize an hour had passed. Or the time you promised, I'll start eating healthy tomorrow, and ended up ordering fast food because it was convenient. These aren't accidents. They're patterns, deeply ingrained in the way we seek comfort. The real problem? The more we indulge in instant gratification, the harder it becomes to stop. Our brains get used to fast, effortless rewards, making anything that requires patience feel unbearable. Reading a book feels slow. Cooking a meal seems like too much effort. Working on a long-term goal feels overwhelming compared to the quick rush of distraction. But here's where the trap gets even worse. Short-term pleasure often leads to long-term suffering. Junk food tastes amazing in the moment, but over time it wrecks your health. Procrastination provides immediate relief, but it builds stress and anxiety. Mindless spending gives you a temporary thrill, but the long-term consequence is financial instability. Every time we choose the easy option, we unknowingly set ourselves up for future pain. Now, take a step back and think about the opposite. Hard things, things we avoid because they take effort, often bring the greatest rewards. Exercise is tough, but it leads to energy and confidence. Reading might seem boring at first, but it expands your mind and gives you new opportunities. Deep work is challenging, but it leads to real success. The things that require patience and discipline don't just benefit us later, they eventually become more enjoyable than the quick fixes we once craved. This is why some people seem to love working out or enjoy waking up early. It's not because they're naturally different from the rest of us. It's because they've trained their brains to associate long-term rewards with satisfaction, rather than needing immediate pleasure. They've flipped the script. The good news? You can do the same. But first, you need to understand that your impulses are not your fault. Your brain is simply responding to a world that constantly pushes quick and easy gratification at every turn. Companies spend billions making sure their products keep you addicted, whether it's fast food, social media, video games, or shopping. The game is rigged, but once you see the pattern, you can break free from it. The first step is awareness. Every time you feel the urge to reach for instant pleasure, pause. Ask yourself, is this choice helping my future self, or am I going to pay for it later? That small moment of hesitation, just a few seconds, can be the first crack in the cycle. You don't have to make massive changes overnight. Just start noticing the pattern. The more aware you become, the more control you'll gain. Because here's the truth. Short-term pleasure is a trade-off. You can have an easy moment now and a hard life later, or you can choose a little effort now and create the future you actually want. One choice leads to regret. The other leads to freedom. Which path will you take? Next, how short-term comfort creates long-term suffering, and how to break free. Chapter 2. The long-term pain of short-term comfort. Imagine waking up every morning with the best intentions. Today is the day you'll eat clean, be productive, and finally get your life together. But by evening, you find yourself glued to the couch, scrolling your phone, eating takeout, and promising yourself that tomorrow will be different. We all know this cycle. It starts with a simple, seemingly harmless choice, hitting snooze, skipping a workout, indulging in one extra cookie. In the moment, these decisions feel comforting. They provide relief from stress, boredom, or discomfort. But here's the catch. Comfort now often leads to consequences later. The more we choose short-term pleasure, the more we create long-term struggles. Procrastination brings temporary relief, but eventually the deadline comes crashing down. Impulse spending feels exciting, but later, the stress of debt lingers. Avoiding difficult conversations keeps the peace for now, but over time resentment builds. Each decision we make today shapes our future, whether we realize it or not. It's easy to believe that small indulgences don't matter, that one skipped workout or one wasted afternoon won't make a difference. But the truth is, habits compound. The person who eats just a little more junk food each day doesn't wake up unhealthy overnight, it happens gradually. The person who avoids saving money doesn't become financially unstable in a single moment. It's the result of thousands of tiny choices. The problem isn't just that we choose comfort. It's that we repeat it. Every time we opt for the easier path, we reinforce a pattern. The brain loves efficiency, and if we train it to seek the path of least resistance, it will crave instant gratification over and over again. Eventually, this becomes our default. But here's the part we don't often think about. Discomfort is coming either way. When we avoid the gym, we may feel relief in the moment, but later we experience the discomfort of poor health and low energy. When we put off difficult tasks, we escape stress temporarily, but we trade it for overwhelming anxiety later. The pain we think we're avoiding doesn't disappear, it just shows up later, multiplied. Think of two versions of yourself. One version gives in to every impulse, always choosing what's easiest. The other version embraces short-term effort, pushing through discomfort in order to grow, who is in a better place 5 years from now. The first version is stuck, tired, and full of regret. The second has momentum, confidence, and control. The choices we make today determine which version we become. Most of us don't struggle with major life-altering decisions. We struggle with the little ones, the daily moments where we either give in to comfort or choose discipline. And because each choice feels small, we convince ourselves it doesn't matter. But imagine if every time you chose discipline, you were depositing into an account that would pay you back in success, health, and happiness. Imagine if every moment of resistance was actually an investment in your future self. This is how the cycle is reversed. We stop chasing temporary comfort and start chasing long-term peace. Instead of focusing on what feels good right now, we shift our focus to what will feel good later. Not just in 5 minutes, but in 5 years. This doesn't mean we can't enjoy life. It doesn't mean suffering through misery in the name of discipline. It simply means choosing the discomfort that serves us, instead of the one that hurts us. One type of discomfort is intentional. It leads to growth, strength, and success. The other is unintentional. It sneaks up on us when we least expect it. Every day you're making a trade. Short-term comfort or long-term peace. One keeps you trapped, the other sets you free. Which will you choose? Next. How small choices compound over time and shape your future. Chapter 3. How small choices compound over time. Every action you take is a vote for the person you will become. Each day you make hundreds of small decisions: what to eat, how to spend your time, whether to exercise, when to go to bed. These choices may seem insignificant on their own, but over time they compound into massive results. Consider two people who start with the same habits. One decides to improve by just 1% every day. The other stays the same or even slips backward occasionally. After a week, the difference is unnoticeable. After a month, it's still hard to see. But after a year, one person is drastically ahead, and the other is stuck or even worse off. Success and failure are rarely the result of one big decision. They are the outcome of tiny, repeated actions. Imagine a plane taking off from Los Angeles, heading to New York. If the pilot shifts the nose of the plane just a few degrees, no one on board will notice. But over time, that tiny adjustment will send the plane to an entirely different destination. The same principle applies to your habits. Small changes, when repeated, completely alter your trajectory. The problem is that bad habits also compound. Eating one unhealthy meal won't ruin your health, but consistently making poor food choices leads to long-term consequences. Skipping one workout doesn't matter, but repeated laziness weakens your body over time. Procrastinating on one task isn't a big deal, but constantly avoiding responsibility leads to overwhelming stress and failure. The issue is that bad habits feel good in the moment and don't seem harmful at first, but when stacked together over time, they lead to major regrets. The opposite is also true. Good habits don't feel like they're working at first, but over time they create life-changing results. The person who saves a small amount of money each month doesn't feel wealthy in the short term, but after years of consistency, they have financial security. The person who exercises regularly may not see immediate changes, but in time they become fit and strong. This is why it's so easy to underestimate the power of daily habits. We assume our choices only matter if they produce immediate results, but real transformation is invisible at first. The best outcomes in life come from patience, persistence, and stacking small improvements. There's a reason most people give up on their goals: they don't see results fast enough. We live in a world where instant gratification is expected, but real success doesn't work that way. It's like planting a seed. You don't dig it up every day to check if it's growing. You water it, give it sunlight, and trust the process. Growth takes time, and so does habit change. The good news is that once you build momentum, habits work in your favor. The first few days of waking up early or eating healthier might be hard, but soon, it becomes automatic. When you stick to a habit long enough, it stops feeling like a choice, it becomes who you are. So how do you start? Focus on tiny, daily wins. If you want to exercise, do just 5 minutes a day to build consistency. If you want to read more, commit to just 1 page. If you want to save money, start with a few dollars. The goal isn't perfection, it's progress. Small efforts repeated lead to massive success. The biggest mistake you can make is assuming that small choices don't matter. They matter more than you think. Every action is either moving you closer to the life you want or pulling you further away. You don't have to change everything overnight. You just have to start stacking good choices today. Next, how to delay gratification without feeling miserable. Chapter 4. How to delay gratification without feeling miserable. Most people think self-discipline means suffering. They believe delaying gratification requires extreme willpower, deprivation, and forcing themselves to do things they hate. That's why so many people fail. They associate discipline with pain instead of realizing that it's the key to real freedom. The secret isn't just forcing yourself to wait, it's making the wait feel good. Think about the last time you gave in to an impulse. Maybe you checked your phone when you were supposed to be working. Maybe you ate something unhealthy, even though you promised yourself you wouldn't. These decisions weren't made consciously, they were automatic. Your brain wanted immediate relief, and you gave it what it wanted without thinking. That's the real challenge. We're not just fighting habits, we're fighting a brain that has been trained to seek instant rewards. But what if waiting wasn't painful? What if you could actually enjoy the process of self-control instead of dreading it? That's where smart habit design comes in. The first step is learning to pause. Most bad habits happen in a split second, the moment of impulse. If you can delay the reaction, even by a few moments, you weaken the urge. The 5-minute rule is a simple trick. Whenever you feel the urge to indulge in a bad habit, wait 5 minutes before acting on it. You don't have to resist forever, just long enough to let the craving fade. Most of the time, the urgency disappears. Another powerful method is the 10-10-10 rule. Before making a choice, ask yourself, how will I feel about this in 10 minutes? In 10 months? In 10 years? That moment of reflection forces you to think beyond immediate pleasure and consider the long-term consequences. Most impulses don't hold up under this kind of scrutiny. But self-discipline isn't just about saying no, it's about finding better rewards. Most people struggle with delaying gratification because they assume the only alternative is suffering. That's not true. Instead of simply avoiding bad habits, replace them with better habits that still feel rewarding. If you love watching TV, don't just stop cold turkey. Try watching something educational or limiting it to a set time. If you crave sweets, find a healthier alternative that still satisfies the craving. The goal isn't to eliminate pleasure from your life but to redefine what pleasure means. The reason bad habits are so addictive is that they provide an effortless dopamine hit. But good habits can provide dopamine too, you just have to be intentional about it. Gamifying discipline is one of the most effective ways to make it enjoyable. Track your progress, set small milestones, and create a reward system that makes growth feel good. The satisfaction of seeing improvement is often more powerful than the instant pleasure of giving in to an impulse. Another key strategy is shifting your identity. Instead of saying, I'm trying to be more disciplined, say, I am the kind of person who makes smart choices. The moment you identify as someone who values self-control, discipline stops feeling like punishment. It becomes who you are. Every time you resist an impulse, you reinforce that identity. The final step is to make long-term rewards feel immediate. If your goal is to save money, track your progress in a way that feels exciting. If your goal is to get fit, find a form of exercise you actually enjoy. The problem isn't discipline, it's the way we think about it. When you start associating self-control with enjoyment instead of restriction, everything changes. You don't have to be miserable to delay gratification, you just have to change what gratification means. Short-term pleasure fades quickly, but the satisfaction of choosing what's best for your future lasts forever. The more you practice, the easier it gets. Eventually, the things that once felt like sacrifices will become your greatest sources of joy. Next, how to make self-discipline effortless. Chapter 5. How to make self-discipline effortless. Most people think self-discipline is about willpower, but that's the hardest way to approach it. Relying on willpower alone is like trying to swim against the current. It works for a while, but eventually you get tired and give up. The key to making self-discipline effortless isn't forcing yourself to do hard things. It's setting up your life so that the hard things become easy and automatic. Think about brushing your teeth. You don't struggle with motivation every morning, you just do it because it's part of who you are. Imagine if self-discipline felt that natural, if exercising, eating healthy, and staying focused were as automatic as brushing your teeth. That's what happens when you shift from seeing discipline as something you have to do to something that happens naturally. The first step is eliminating friction. Most people struggle with discipline because they make good choices harder than they need to be. If you want to eat healthy, don't rely on willpower. Remove junk food from your house so there's nothing to resist. If you want to work out more, lay out your gym clothes the night before. The fewer obstacles there are between you and the right decision, the more automatic discipline becomes. The second step is attaching discipline to identity. Instead of saying, "I'm trying to be more disciplined," say, "I am the type of person who follows through." Identity is powerful. The moment you start seeing yourself as someone who values self-control, it stops being an effort. It becomes a standard you live by. A smoker who quits and still thinks, "I'm trying to quit smoking," will struggle. But someone who says, "I am not a smoker," is far more likely to succeed. Your brain works to stay consistent with your identity. The third step is making discipline rewarding. Most people fail at self-control because they focus only on the struggle, not the benefits. They see workouts as painful instead of a path to energy. They see budgeting as restriction instead of financial freedom. To make discipline effortless, you have to associate it with pleasure. Find ways to make difficult tasks enjoyable. Listen to music while exercising, use a fancy notebook to track your progress, or gamify your goals by giving yourself small rewards. When your brain starts linking discipline to positive emotions, it stops feeling like a battle. The fourth step is lowering the activation energy. Starting is always the hardest part. The more effort it takes to begin, the more likely you are to procrastinate. But if you make it ridiculously easy to start, you bypass resistance. Want to read more? Start with just 1 page a day. Want to exercise? Do 1 push-up. Once you start, momentum takes over. Action leads to more action. The fifth step is creating non-negotiable habits. There are things in your life you do without question. You don't decide whether or not to shower, you just do it. The same can happen with self-discipline. The trick is to set small, daily habits that become part of your identity. If you commit to writing 1 sentence a day, you'll likely write more. If you commit to 5 minutes of exercise, you'll probably keep going. The goal isn't just to build habits, it's to make them something you don't even think about. The final step is trusting the process. Discipline doesn't feel effortless at first, but every time you make the right choice, you strengthen the habit. Over time, self-discipline stops being something you struggle with and becomes who you are. And when that happens, success becomes automatic. Next, the pleasure of long-term success. Chapter 6. The pleasure of long-term success. People avoid discipline because they think it makes life harder. But the truth is, discipline makes life easier. It removes stress, builds confidence, and creates real happiness. The problem is that most people only focus on the work that discipline requires, not the rewards that come from it. They think of exercise as painful instead of energizing. They think of saving money as deprivation instead of freedom. They see studying as boring instead of a gateway to success. But when you start looking beyond the effort and focusing on the long-term benefits, discipline stops feeling like a sacrifice. It starts feeling like a gift. Think about a time when you followed through on something hard. Maybe you stuck to a diet, saved up for something important, or pushed through a difficult challenge. How did it feel afterward? There's a deep, lasting satisfaction in knowing you made the right choice. Unlike instant gratification, which fades quickly, the pleasure of discipline lasts. It gives you pride, confidence, and momentum. It's not just about reaching a goal. It's about knowing you're the kind of person who follows through. This is why people who exercise regularly actually start to enjoy it. It's not because working out suddenly becomes painless. It's because they associate it with feeling strong, energized, and accomplished. The same is true for people who save money, eat healthy, or work on their goals. Over time, they rewire their brains to connect discipline with pleasure, and when that happens, success becomes easy. The key is to stop thinking of discipline as something that takes away from your life and start seeing it as something that adds to it. Every time you make a disciplined choice, you're investing in your future happiness. When you skip the junk food, you're not missing out, you're gaining energy and confidence. When you stay focused instead of scrolling your phone, you're not sacrificing fun, you're building a future you're proud of. This mindset shift changes everything. Another important factor is momentum. The first step is always the hardest, but once you start building good habits, they create a ripple effect. One small success leads to another. When you start eating better, you feel more energetic. That energy helps you stay productive. Productivity gives you confidence. Confidence makes it easier to take on bigger challenges. Success is contagious, but so is failure. The more you give in to short-term pleasure, the harder it becomes to stop. But the more you choose long-term rewards, the easier it gets to stay on track. One of the biggest myths about success is that it requires constant motivation. It doesn't. What it requires is consistency. Most people assume they need to feel inspired to take action, but the reality is that action creates motivation. The best way to start feeling good about discipline is to do it. The more you act like a disciplined person, the more natural it becomes. It also helps to visualize the long-term rewards. When you're tempted to quit, ask yourself, what will my future self thank me for? Will I be happier if I give in to this craving? Or will I regret it? Will skipping this workout make my life better, or will it make things harder? The more you connect your actions to long-term consequences, the easier it is to make the right choice. At the end of the day, success isn't about suffering. It's about making choices that serve you instead of hurt you. It's about trading short-term comfort for long-term peace. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones who have the most willpower. They're the ones who have learned to love the process. And once you shift your mindset, you'll realize that self-discipline isn't a burden, it's the greatest form of self-care. Next, breaking the cycle of self-sabotage. Chapter 7. Breaking the cycle of self-sabotage. You set a goal, you make a plan, you start strong. Then, out of nowhere, you do something to ruin your own progress. You skip a workout, waste a day procrastinating, or go back to an old habit you swore you were done with. You know what you should do, but you do the opposite. It's frustrating. It feels like you're fighting against yourself. That's because you are. Self-sabotage isn't random. It's a pattern. It happens when part of you resists change, even when the change is good for you. The reason? Your brain craves comfort. Even if your current habits are hurting you, they're familiar. And to your brain, familiar feels safe. Growth, on the other hand, feels uncertain. It requires effort, risk, and stepping into the unknown. That's why the moment you start making progress, something inside you tries to pull you back. One of the biggest reasons people self-sabotage is fear of success. It sounds strange. Why would anyone be afraid of success? But think about it. Success means responsibility. It means maintaining the progress you've made. It means stepping into a new version of yourself. That can be uncomfortable. Some people fail on purpose, just to avoid that discomfort. They stay in bad relationships because they're scared of being alone. They avoid financial success because they don't trust themselves to handle money. They neglect their health because they don't feel worthy of looking or feeling better. The problem isn't ability, it's belief. Another form of self-sabotage is perfectionism. If you tell yourself, if I can't do it perfectly, I won't do it at all, you're setting yourself up to fail. Perfection is an illusion. No one follows a plan flawlessly. No one stays disciplined every single day. But people who succeed keep going even when they mess up. The difference between winners and quitters isn't that winners never fail. It's that they don't let failure stop them. Another trap is identifying with your past mistakes. If you believe you're lazy, undisciplined, or incapable, you'll act in ways that confirm that belief. Your actions always align with your identity. If you see yourself as someone who struggles with self-control, you'll keep proving it true. But the moment you decide to rewrite your identity, I am someone who follows through, I am disciplined, I keep my promises to myself, everything changes. So how do you break the cycle? The first step is awareness. Notice the moments when you start to self-sabotage. Is it when you're making progress? When things feel too easy? When you start believing you don't deserve success? Self-sabotage thrives in the dark. The more you recognize it, the less power it has. The second step is lowering the stakes. Instead of thinking every decision has to be perfect, focus on progress over perfection. If you miss a workout, don't let it turn into missing a week. If you overspend, get back on track immediately instead of giving up. The goal isn't to never make mistakes. The goal is to bounce back quickly. The third step is self-compassion. Many people self-sabotage because they're too hard on themselves. They believe if they mess up, they might as well quit. But discipline isn't about punishment. It's about learning and adjusting. Instead of beating yourself up for mistakes, ask, what can I do better next time? The final step is choosing discomfort on purpose. Growth is uncomfortable, but so is staying stuck. The difference is that one type of discomfort leads to a better life, and the other leads to regret. The moment you stop fearing discomfort is the moment you take control of your future. You don't have to be perfect to succeed. You just have to stop getting in your own way. Next, turning hard work into a reward. Chapter 8. Turning hard work into a reward. Most people see hard work as something to endure, a necessary struggle before they can finally enjoy life. They push through diets, force themselves to exercise, grind at work, all while waiting for the day when they can finally relax. But this mindset makes discipline feel like suffering, and when something feels like suffering, you'll always look for ways to escape it. The secret to long-term success isn't forcing yourself to work harder, it's learning how to enjoy the process. Think about video games. People spend hours grinding, overcoming challenges, and improving their skills. They do it not because they have to, but because progress feels good. The same principle applies to real life. If you can find a way to make discipline feel rewarding in the moment, you'll never need motivation again. The first step is shifting your focus from the effort to the progress. Most people quit because they only see the struggle, not the improvement. If you work out and only focus on how hard it feels, you'll give up. But if you track your strength increasing, your endurance improving, and your body changing, discipline stops being a burden. It becomes a game you want to keep playing. The second step is gamifying the process. Set small, measurable goals and reward yourself for hitting them. Track your workouts, savings, reading, or any habit you want to build. Use checklists, habit trackers, or apps that make discipline feel like progress. Give yourself milestones to reach, and when you hit them, celebrate. The brain loves wins, no matter how small. Another powerful trick is habit stacking. Pair something you enjoy with something productive. Listen to music or a podcast while working out. Drink your favorite coffee while doing deep work. Watch a show only while on the treadmill. When you combine discipline with pleasure, hard work stops feeling like a chore. One of the biggest reasons people struggle with discipline is that they rely on delayed rewards. They tell themselves, once I lose weight, then I'll feel good, or once I make enough money, then I'll be happy. But success isn't just about reaching the goal. It's about learning to enjoy the journey. If you only allow yourself to feel good after achieving something, you'll always be miserable in the process. The trick is to find joy in the daily effort, not just the result. The next step is rewiring how you see challenges. Most people avoid difficult things because they associate them with pain. But what if you saw effort as something that makes you stronger? What if struggle was a sign that you're growing, not failing? Every time you push through resistance, you build mental toughness, and the more you do it, the more you start to enjoy it. Another key to making discipline feel rewarding is removing unnecessary friction. If you hate going to the gym because it's far away, find a workout you can do at home. If cooking healthy meals feels like too much work, meal prep in advance. If deep work is hard because your phone is distracting, put it in another room. The easier you make good habits, the more enjoyable they become. The final piece of the puzzle is identity change. When you see yourself as someone who enjoys the process, everything shifts. Instead of saying, I have to work out, say, I'm the kind of person who stays strong. Instead of saying, I have to save money, say, I'm the kind of person who builds wealth. When discipline becomes part of your identity, it stops feeling like effort. It becomes second nature. Hard work isn't something to escape. It's something to embrace. Once you learn to enjoy the process, success becomes inevitable. Next, how to escape the culture of instant gratification. Chapter 9. How to escape the culture of instant gratification. Everywhere you look, the world is designed for instant gratification. Fast food is easier than cooking. Social media gives you quick dopamine hits without effort. Streaming services let you binge watch for hours without thinking. Everything is built to keep you hooked on what feels good right now, even when it makes your life harder in the long run. The truth is, modern convenience isn't always a good thing. It's making us weaker. It's training us to expect everything instantly, which makes discipline feel impossible. If you've ever felt like you can't focus, can't stick to habits, or can't stay motivated, it's not because you lack willpower. It's because you're fighting against a system designed to keep you addicted to distraction and comfort. The first step to escaping this trap is recognizing it. The moment you realize that companies profit from your impulses, you start to see the game for what it is. Social media isn't free, it costs you your focus. Junk food isn't just about taste, it's designed to keep you craving more. Every time you reach for a quick fix, ask yourself, is this choice serving me, or is someone else benefiting from my weakness? The second step is creating intentional friction. If something is too easy, you'll keep doing it. If something is too hard, you'll stop. This is why bad habits are effortless, and good habits take work. The solution: make bad habits harder and good habits easier. Delete apps that waste your time. Keep your phone in another room when you work. Don't keep junk food in your house. The harder it is to indulge, the less likely you are to do it. The next step is rewiring how you see boredom. Most people reach for distractions the second they feel even slightly uncomfortable. But boredom isn't the enemy. It's the space where deep thinking, creativity, and self-control are built. The more comfortable you get with stillness, the stronger your mind becomes. Start by doing small things without distractions. Drink your coffee without scrolling your phone. Sit in silence for 5 minutes. Go for a walk without music. Training your brain to be okay with boredom makes you immune to distractions. Another way to break free from instant gratification is to set delayed rewards. If everything in your life is instantly available, you never get to experience the joy of anticipation. Create small rules to delay pleasure. If you want to watch a show, only allow yourself to do it after completing a workout. If you want a treat, earn it by finishing your tasks. The goal isn't to deprive yourself, it's to train your brain to link rewards with effort. It's also important to audit your environment. The people around you, the content you consume, and the habits you see every day shape your behavior more than you realize. If you spend time with people who chase instant pleasure, it will influence you. If your feed is full of distractions, your mind will crave them. Start curating your environment to reflect the person you want to become. Surround yourself with disciplined people, follow content that inspires growth, and remove anything that encourages mindless consumption. Another key strategy is building patience through small wins. If you've been stuck in the cycle of instant gratification for years, you won't break free overnight. Start with tiny acts of discipline. Wait 5 extra minutes before checking your phone. Delay a purchase for 1 day before deciding. The more you practice choosing long-term rewards, the easier it becomes. The final step is reminding yourself of the cost of easy choices. Every time you give in to instant gratification, you're stealing from your future. The time, energy, and focus you waste today are things you can't get back. But every time you resist a short-term impulse, you're investing in a future where you have control, confidence, and success. The world is designed to keep you weak, but once you see the pattern, you can break free. Next, rewriting your relationship with time. Chapter 10. Rewriting your relationship with time. Most people believe they have plenty of time. They tell themselves they'll start eating healthy next week, saving money next month, or chasing their dreams next year. But days turn into weeks, weeks turn into months, and suddenly years have passed. The harsh truth? You don't have as much time as you think, and every moment you waste on distractions, bad habits, or procrastination is time you will never get back. The way you use time determines everything about your future. Yet, most people treat it as if it's unlimited. They act as if they can waste hours scrolling social media, binge-watching shows, or avoiding responsibilities without consequence. But time is the one resource you can't earn more of. You can always make more money. You can always start over, but once time is gone, it's gone forever. The first step to changing your relationship with time is realizing its true value. If you lost $100, you'd probably be upset. But if you wasted an hour, would you even notice? The irony is that time is far more valuable than money. You can get money back, but you can't recover lost time. The most successful people in the world aren't the ones with the most talent or luck. They're the ones who understand that every moment is an investment. The next step is recognizing where your time actually goes. Most people don't lose time in big chunks, they lose it in tiny moments that add up. 5 minutes checking your phone turns into an hour. A few minutes of procrastination turns into a wasted afternoon. It happens so gradually that you don't even notice. That's why tracking your time is essential. Write down how you spend your day. Be brutally honest. You might be shocked at how much of your time is spent on things that don't matter. Another powerful shift is flipping your mindset from "I don't have time" to "I didn't make time." When people say they don't have time to work out, read, or pursue their goals, what they really mean is they prioritized other things. The truth is, everyone has the same 24 hours. The difference is how they use them. Instead of saying you don't have time, start saying, "It's not a priority." If that makes you uncomfortable, good, it forces you to take ownership of your choices. One of the biggest time traps is living in reaction mode. Most people let the day control them instead of controlling their day. They wake up, check their phone, respond to messages, and get pulled into distractions. Before they know it, half the day is gone. The solution? Plan your time before the day starts. Take 5 minutes each morning to decide what actually matters. Set a goal for the day, eliminate unnecessary tasks, and protect your focus. Another key strategy is understanding the difference between being busy and being productive. Many people fill their days with low-value tasks, checking emails, scrolling feeds, doing busy work while avoiding the hard things that actually move them forward. True productivity isn't about doing more, it's about doing what matters most. Every time you start a task, ask yourself, is this bringing me closer to my goals, or is it just filling time? It's also important to build a sense of urgency. Most people don't take action until they feel pressure, a deadline, a crisis, a wake-up call. But what if you created that urgency before it was forced on you? Imagine that your dream has a deadline. Imagine that the opportunity you want is disappearing tomorrow. Would you waste time? Or would you take action immediately? The people who achieve the most are the ones who act before they're forced to. The final step is learning to protect your time like your life depends on it, because it does. If someone tried to steal your money, you'd fight to stop them. But when distractions steal your time, you let it happen. Start treating your time like the valuable resource it is. Guard it. Spend it wisely. And most importantly, use it before it runs out. Next, replacing regret with momentum. Chapter 11. Replacing regret with momentum. Regret is one of the most powerful and painful emotions. It lingers, reminding you of the chances you didn't take, the time you wasted, and the habits you never changed. Everyone has moments they wish they could redo. The problem isn't making mistakes, it's letting those mistakes define you. The longer you dwell on regret, the more stuck you become. But regret doesn't have to hold you back. It can be the fuel that pushes you forward. Most people let regret paralyze them. They replay past failures in their minds, convincing themselves it's too late to change. But regret is only destructive if you let it be. The truth is, regret is just proof that you care about your future. It means you know you're capable of more, and that's a good thing. Instead of letting regret weigh you down, use it as motivation. The best way to overcome regret is to take action, now. The first step to replacing regret with momentum is forgiveness. Holding on to past failures only drains your energy. You wouldn't keep punishing a friend for a mistake they made years ago, so why do it to yourself? Accept that you can't change the past, but you can control what happens next. The question isn't why did I do that? It's what can I learn from this? Regret becomes valuable when it teaches you something. The next step is to focus on what's still possible. People waste time thinking about what they should have done instead of what they still can do. The past is over. The only thing that matters is where you go from here. Whether you're 20, 40, or 60, there is still time to change. Regret is the result of past choices, but momentum is built by the choices you make today. Another key to breaking free from regret is replacing overthinking with action. Thinking about your mistakes doesn't change them. The only way to move forward is to take even the smallest step in the right direction. If you regret not being healthier, start with one workout. If you regret wasting time, dedicate just 10 minutes to something meaningful. The moment you take action, you shift from dwelling on the past to building a better future. One of the biggest mistakes people make is believing they need a perfect plan before they start. They tell themselves they'll change once they have everything figured out. But waiting for the perfect time is just another form of procrastination. The best time to start was yesterday. The second best time is right now. Momentum is built through small wins. You don't need to change everything at once. Just take one step. Do one thing better today than you did yesterday. Progress compounds. And once you start moving forward, it gets easier to keep going. The more you focus on what you can do, the less you'll think about what you didn't do. Another key strategy is rewriting your narrative. If you tell yourself you're someone who always quits, you'll keep proving yourself right. But if you shift your mindset to I am someone who learns and improves, you take control of your story. The past is not your identity. Your choices today are. The final step is to stop waiting for motivation and just start. Motivation isn't something you find, it's something you create by taking action. Regret disappears the moment you start doing the work. You don't need a fresh start. You just need to stop looking backward. The future is still unwritten, and you're the one holding the pen, next. The ultimate question for every decision: take care and be well.